Life Force on the NES. Let's talk about the good things of this game.
The level design actually wasn't bad. There was like that cool part where you actually are like, kind of looks like you're going through someone's body,
Yeah.
and then eventually you end up like at the rib cage and you have to fight like the head. That was like super like trippy. It was actually really cool. It looked kind of like frightening, like it looked kind of scary, and I love that. I love that like kind of early horror-ish, like horror feeling that you can see in some games that are out.
Yeah, and it had a lot of the background and the textures look like a brain.
Yeah.
And you even have to interact with it a little bit. Like it looks like veins and stuff are coming through, and you have to shoot through them to make your way.
It was weird because like there's like parts where you're like, this kind of reminds me of like the inside of a human body. Like if you've watched like Osmosis Jones or whatever.
Yeah,
definitely.
like,
and then eventually like it just clicks because you get to the heart or whatever. You get to that one part like, oh shoot, no way.
Yeah, and that being said, like I mean, on top of that, the graphics they're really good graphics for the NES. Just how much texture there is in the background. There's a lot of stuff going on in the backgrounds, and then the bosses. They're pretty detailed looking also. So I was impressed by the graphics of this game.
And actually, like looking back on that, like when you have to shoot your way through parts,
Yeah.
and then how it like kind of like regrows, it all makes sense now. Like, it's like, oh yeah, you're in some like in a body, so it's gonna heal. It's gonna.
Yeah, that does make sense. And then also, it's a 2-player co-op shooter. There's not a lot of them. And it changes it up. So sometimes it's vertical, and then sometimes it's horizontal side-scrolling.
Yeah.
So that part definitely keeps things interesting.
You have to. It's like, I notice when it's more like linear, like horizontal. It's like definitely a lot more dodging. You have to be more like. I felt like I had to be more quick on my toes. Where like when it was more top-down, it was more shooting and more action-packed.
That's true. Yeah, I was thinking. You mean like when it was vertical?
Yeah.
Like those parts I found to be a lot easier. Definitely less. Yeah, like I don't know. You didn't have to maneuver as much. It's more about actually shooting the enemies and dodging their attacks. But
yeah,
when the horizontal side-scrolling parts is more about going through the environments and trying not to die.
Yeah, you got like really hard because there were parts where you had to get through right then and there.
Yeah.
Or like it was just like a mountain would come out of nowhere and just cover that entire part of the screen.
Yeah.
Or the entire screen, and you couldn't get through without just being splattered all over it.
Right. Okay, what about negative things in the game? The biggest thing, I think, is just how difficult it is.
Yeah, it's super hard. That's like, I mean, I actually rather enjoyed it, but man, like, it's super hard. It's like...
Yeah, this is a game, unless you're a pro, you should just put on the cheats. If you want to play through the game, it's still fun. Put on Infinity Lives and see what the game's like, but it's so hard. I've never even gotten past the second level without cheats.
Yeah, it's really hard. Like, it's just like even in the first area when they're already throwing those, like I said, the mountains just cover the entire screen and you can't go anywhere. Like, it's like some games you like kind of escalate slowly. Like they're up their difficulty like little by little. Oh, there's no brakes on this rape train. They just.
Yep. One thing I kind of didn't like was that the environment kills you also, just like the top of the screen and the bottom of the screen. So it makes it even harder when you're dodging all the environment and the blasts and the enemies. Then you can't even go to the top of the screen. You have to be careful. I mean, that just adds a whole other level of difficulty there. There's nowhere you can go to be safe.
There was like these spots where they had like a thing here, and a thing here. Couldn't figure out what they were. But every time you destroyed one, like, it'd fire off like 10 shots that would cover the entire screen. It's like, alright, do I just keep on my course and run into that thing and die anyways? Or do I blast to get out of my way and hope I have really decent dodging skills?
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, because like, I mean, you could go in the middle, but there was enemies in the middle and they were shooting at you too. It was just like super intense.
to add on top of the difficulty.
Yeah, every time you pick something up, it would like there was like this little bar, and it'd go up more and more. And so like your special would go like it would change based on how many of these pickups you would get.
Yeah, because it's so difficult. We hardly even had a chance to get any of the upgrades because you're just constantly dying.
Usually by the time I got like enough to get like that little droid or turret that follows you,
Yeah.
that would be the second I went dead.
Yep.
Like, every single time.
I just wish it was a little easier because I love the gameplay and I love the theme and the graphics and the environments, but it's so hard you don't get much of a chance to enjoy it. And every time I played it before, I don't even know if I beat the first level before. So we had to put on the Infinity Lives. We admit it. We did it, guys. Infinity Lives cheat. Sorry, but there wasn't an option for us. If we want to play through this game, that's what we had to do. Much like other NES games. This is the classic NES difficulty.
And this is what I'm coming to find out. I've come to the conclusion, Dark Souls, I can beat it. Bloodborne, I platted it. I don't even give a crap. I platted that game. That game is like hard as crap. And I'm like, now I'm playing these old games. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh wow, yeah, no.
Okay, yeah. Those are hard. I mean, I don't play a lot of those new games, but like NES games, like I don't even think in my head they're not even possible to beat at all. I know there's people that have beat them, but I don't know. I'm never gonna be to the level where I can beat most of these games without cheat codes.
And there's like a few people that actually do no death runs, and they're just like super good at it. And it just amazes me, especially like in today's standards, how we got people that like just cry about how hard games are now, like Dark Souls 3 or whatever new games out, you know, like, oh, it's way too hard. I'm like, and then I look back at these old games, I'm like, wow.
These games, NES games, are just known for being far less forgiving. Like there's some of them, like Ninja Gaiden, where you have infinity continues, but then there's others where you have 3 lives, that's it, and then no continues, game over, you can't play again. You have to start all over. So NES games are just a lot less forgiving usually, and it sucks. You get so far in a game, you die, you're done. You gotta start it over.
Like, even with cheats, it's just like, it's still satisfying to beat this game, because, I mean, it's not like we just sat in one spot and mashed. I mean, we tried for sure, but
we try as hard as we can to not die. But you just
we couldn't. There was no way we could make it to the end.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, if this game is way more satisfying than I would find a lot of newer games, because like, I actually feel like I accomplished something, even if it was with cheats. Like, that's how hard this game is.
Exactly. All right, the rating. To me, I love this game. It's just the difficulty that brings it down. I wish that it was easier. I would love to play it more. That's the only thing keeping me from doing it again. But I think it'd be a game that'd be fun to practice and actually get good at. Because I love shooters, and if you're good at this, you would probably be better at other shooters as well. So it'd be a good practice for if you're playing other stuff.
I will say that like the difficulty is like a little too maybe harsh because I'm a giant wimp, but I almost like admire the game for it, you know? Like if it was a little less harsh, I'd probably love it even more. But it's really, I don't know, I just find this like super refreshing, you know?
Yeah. I think I would rate it a 4 out of 5. Because gameplay and everything is super solid. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just too hard. That's it.
Yeah, like I would give it 4.0 too. Like it's just, level design was incredibly cool. Like when you finally get through the rib cage and the head, that's just like oh man, it just sold it for me. That's awesome. I'm really into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was a little like, I wouldn't want it to be like more forgiving, but a little less hard. I love how it's not forgiving at all. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I do admire it for its difficulty. It's just I'm a scrub.